What's up, everybody? Welcome to Theology in the Dirt. Here at Theology in the Dirt, we try to put our theology into practice in the public square of our homes, our city, and our world. Check out the website, theologyindirt.com, brand new website. Really cool stuff, merch on there. Buy some, please. That's an amazing thing, and we're glad to have you along for the ride. My name's Mitchell Jolly.
I'm Chris Hayes.
John Palmer.
Let's shake and bake, man.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake! Shake and then bake. Shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
It's shake and bake time. Shake and bake, buddy. Shake it before you bake it.
Dude.
Yeah,
hey.
Chris missed his cue, man.
He did.
Every time you do it, and you didn't do it this time.
I'm trying to grow up, and so the Braves played the Reds in the Speedway Classic. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
It was supposed to be Saturday. It rained out, and they played most of it Sunday at Bristol Speedway.
Oh, wow.
Over 91,000 people in attendance. So it's the first game ever in Tennessee, first day. But a lot of the guys did custom cleats and had like Ricky Bobby stuff on their cleats.
Really?
And, like,
That's
if
cool.
you're not first, you're last. And like the Wonder Bread. The Braves radio announcers came out and because I got these big stashes, so they kind of look like NASCAR drivers. And then they came out with like wearing like driver suits. There was a bunch of NASCAR guys there. Tim McGraw. It was a pretty big deal. But all I could think about was
That's wild.
shake
How'd I
and bake
miss
the whole
that?
time. Yeah, it was pretty neat.
One of them was dressed up like Richard Petty, man. He looked legit
Really?
like Richard Petty.
Is it a cowboy hat on?
Yeah, cowboy hat, mustache, had the STP jacket on.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was back when racing was racing.
Yeah, that's right. Richard Petty. Cal. Not Cal Naughton Jr. It's not Cal Naughton Jr.
Unser.
Oh, what's his name?
Unser.
Oh, yeah, dadgummit. It's still on
Unser.
way back in the day. I used to
Dale
watch a
Earnhardt.
little. Dale's like Dale's
Yeah.
the band.
Michael
right?
Waltrip was there. I remember him. I wasn't a big racing guy, but they had a lot of
No,
NASCAR guys
Dale
at
Earnhardt was not at this event.
He was not. No,
Past.
a lot of racers, past and present, were there because a lot of them are from the South. A lot of them are Braves fans.
Do
Well,
you
neither was
know-
Richard Petty.
No, Richard Petty was not there, but the guy dressed up. Does anybody know where they were when Dale Earnhardt passed? I do.
I don't. No.
We were in Sunday night service at a church in Arlington, Texas, and news people in all Texas like, "Did you hear Earnhardt died today?" And it was news. Like there was a mourning that passed
Yeah,
through
I
the
mean,
congregation.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah, DJ.
He had quite
Dale
a
died
cult
today.
following.
He did, man.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild. Well, we are not talking about NASCAR today.
but we are.
But we are because of, shake and bake. But nonetheless, today we are going to talk about something that's super important. Now, we have one of our listeners kind of in some dialogue, some questions, really get to the heart of what they were trying to ask, which is really the issue of how do I balance work and being a father? And that's coming from a sermon we've been studying through the book of Exodus, and we got to the section in Exodus where Bezalel was anointed by the Spirit of God. He was set apart, appointed, given the Holy Spirit for the labor of constructing the tabernacle. So him and another guy, which I can't pronounce his name because of the diphthong of the O and the I in his name.
I call it a holy ab.
Holy
ab.
Yeah, it's like me trying to say the word "ol."
Oh, just say it all Southern. It don't matter.
Ol.
Holy ab.
Yeah, a whole. So I just said that other dude. So they were filled
Oil.
with oil. So what I was trying to do in coming at that is not because because so much of what you read is like, oh look, God fills people with the Spirit for art and artistic construction. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's more God appointed the work and function of constructing and building, and so God appointed work. So the whole point I didn't want to get, because I didn't want a bunch of men walking out there, well, God appoints people to do art. That ain't me. So it's I don't know, God equips with the Spirit for this beautiful labor of constructing this tabernacle, which is a representation of and a reconstruction of what was lost in the fall, God's presence with man. And so God ordains work. He gives his Spirit to equip us to labor and do work, and it's a holy and good thing, and what a gift from the Lord, the labor in creation.
Yeah, but also that, because it was both, because there was a craftsman
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
He was a craftsman, so it's not like it was just a bunch of guys sewing.
No, not at all. Not in fact, he uses 4 words. It's not to go back and just unpack the sermon, but he uses craftsmanship. He uses all these words.
Yeah, when you look at the structure of the tabernacle, man, it was, you have to know what you're doing to construct that thing. Of course, now God gave them the footprint, right? So
That's right.
With ability and intelligence, with knowledge and all craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And these extrapolated, because he's working on the tabernacle, he equips mankind for labor in doing Genesis 1, 26 to 28.
Yeah.
And so the tabernacle is a microcosm of what God has gifted all human beings to be able to do in creation. That is, given the Spirit to labor at managing all of creation. Mm-hmm. And so that brings up the question, well, as a husband and a father, how do I apply the calling as a husband and a father in the setting of work? And that is a challenging question. Mm-hmm. Partly because one of the things that came up in discussion in our small group is one of the comments was economically it is an impossible problem to try to solve as a dad and a mom in the economic climate in which we live. And that is very true. So sort of backing up a little bit, when we take a look at where we are in history, industrialization created a problem, a challenge, and that is it created an economic climate in which rising prices and all that others, I don't want to do an economics lesson here, have led us to a point in time and place where industrialization influenced our education system, influenced the economic market to the place where we had 2-income households necessary to survive and thrive. And how do you act now as a husband and a father in a time and place in which industrialization causes you to have to be away from home to make the living, when it used to be the home was how you made your living? Like, you had kids because, well, we're supposed to have kids, but you also put them out in the field with you. You know, running the mules, running the plow, picking the cotton. I mean, that's how my dad grew up, like the family farm. Like, my grandfather needed all them boys to farm that 700 acres down there in Cedar Bluff, Center, Alabama. And so come back from the war with World War I with a missing hand, and you definitely needed those boys. And so industrialization led to him selling a farm, taking a job away, and then that was gone. And so now all of our jobs are not home-centric or building a legacy and a family home and a family farm, but it is, I go to work, I work for somebody, and I'm gone 12 hours a day. And so how do I be a father? And how do I be a dad in an environment which God has made me to work, and I'm trying to be faithful with being a worker and a laborer because God made me to do that? And how do I execute the task of being a husband and a dad? And man, that sits hard because we've all had to do that.
Yeah.
And so I will say first, I don't have a lot of like points. Just my personal story is coming out of graduate school, coming here to plant this church. There was a time in which I had 3 jobs. And so I got a little fella, then had 2 little fellas, and I'm leaving at 7 in the morning, sometimes 6:30, going to work, and I'm coming home at 6:30, 7. And so I'm missing a day. And so my wife is carrying that pail of water, and sometimes her having to do home stuff. There was a time at which we managed apartments also. So we got to live for free, but that came with work. So you're working this, you're doing this, and you're managing these apartments in order to house, feed, clothe your children and your wife. And so how do I do my job as a husband and a father in this climate in which I'm also a worker and a laborer that has to earn a living? And that's a challenge.
Yeah, well, I mean, just stating the obvious, there's not a clear-cut answer.
Right. No.
I think in different situations is a different conversation too, and you know, all we can share is just our experience in that, and even some of the places we went wrong. And the first thing that came to my mind was when you're talking through that, and even just pondering it, because you're right. I mean, I don't think the climate, the culture that we live in is the same of what the Bible talks about, right?
Right.
So I do think that there's a downfall to what capitalism and industrialism and all of that stuff has done to how we have to labor to, make ends meet, per se. But within that, the one thing that came to my mind was just you can still have good boundaries around those things.
Yeah.
And when we and this is going to be hard because I think that there's some dudes that and I've done it in my past too, is working different shifts, and you're gone at night, and then the kids are gone at school all day, and you're gone at night. My brother-in-law, another one, is a prime example. Like that sucker worked night shift for years, and raised the family. And of course, my sister stayed at home with the kids and did that. And but there was still some intentional things that he did to be a good dad. And I think that is the same thing of what we have done too. And I think in between that, you can still be a good present dad and still work your butt off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's right.
And I think some of that is where we get into to the right mindset when we do come home.
Yeah.
Are you present at home?
Yeah.
Or are you still actually working? Or are you still where's your mind? Where's your heart?
Yeah.
All of those things that go along with, working a long day.
Yeah.
And you can get those flipped upside down. And then, I think that you can really get down into a deep hole. And to be quite frank, I mean, I was there.
Yeah.
Elena was 4 when we got divorced. And up until that point, like, it was literally 24/7 at the mill. So it's like there was an upside down, and it was always with me when I came home.
Yeah.
And so being present, even when you're there physically, it's a different story too. So there's a lot of learning that you do in that too. And I think that you can pay attention to those things as you're walking through it. And there isn't a clear cut answer or right answer for this is the way it should be done or what you should do.
Yeah.
There is a working out of that with your spouse, and with a humble heart for both people to work through that healthily.
Yeah. Working through that together. Chris, would you remind me, because I will forget this, come back to industrialization, because I do want to talk about industrialization as possibly a tool of the enemy to rob families.
Yeah.
But I think that's super important to talk about, because it's what we have. The current environment we have is what we have, and industrialization has produced it. We went from agrarian to industrial, not necessarily evil, but it produced a climate in which our income and our sustenance stopped being home-based and started being factory-based. Mm-hmm. And that has implications. I do want to talk about that. But I think what you said is just spot on. And the thought that continued to come to mind is, on this side of where we are in parenting, I don't understand why it works this way, but you always learn how to be a better parent after it's over. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me to say that and not get emotional, because you look back and there's regrets. Mm-hmm. You reckon we can say these things because there are times I came home and I wasn't present. I was there, but I was checked out. And there are times I did it well. There are times I came home and I was like, before I got out, I was like, hey, Lord, help me. I need strength and I need to be present. So help me to be present. And I did it well. And then there were the Saturdays, man. For me, it was like, all right, I'm going to be off on Saturday. Planting the church, you're not off on Sunday. But on Saturday, I would get up early. The boys were early risers. And we had, before we got Daniel at the age of 2, we had fostered and adopted Daniel. I'd put them on my back in the carrier, and we'd go hike. Mm-hmm. And so Jennifer would come with us, and I would just strap them on. I carry both of them. And we'd go hike, and we would hike and hike and hike all day, be together. And I would invest in them, spend time with them, put them to bed. And I tried to make up for that by, in those early years, by also being the one to put them to bed. Mm-hmm. So I would come home, be present. We'd wrestle on the bed. So we'd wrestle till somebody got hurt. Then we'd eat supper.
Jennifer would get mad.
And then she'd get mad. But that makes sense. Y'all know my boys. Like, no, it makes sense. Now I see where they got it from. So we'd wrestle till somebody got hurt. And then we'd rub some dirt on it and do it some more, go eat supper, sit down and watch our favorite show that they like to watch. And then I'd put them to bed, and I would go and I would lay with them. I'd lay beside them. I'd pray for them until they went to sleep. Yeah,
man, I was forced into being a more present father. There wasn't a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for and people. I get that quite often. It's like people talk about that. It's like I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
Even though it was hard, like what I went through.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful for it because it absolutely shifted. I had to shift my mindset and who I was as a dad because I didn't have a choice, and I had a daughter that was, that was on me, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So there was no other option, and I did it in an industrialized world.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was some thing. Now listen, none of us, and not one bit of it was without Jesus like orchestrating the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it was still hard, but you can look back and see all the things that was like that just didn't make sense, that he was able to help me walk through that like gracefully.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that I was forced into, okay, I've got, and man, now it's like I can't even describe the relationship depth that I have with my daughter.
Right.
Because of that.
Yeah.
So not hoping that not everybody has to go through such, change in order for that to be a wake up. And I think for some of our younger dads in our congregation, like you can pay attention to those stories. You don't have to get there.
Yeah, that's right.
There's good boundaries you put in place.
That's right.
And intentionality, like what you're talking about, that you can overcome and still be a solid dad.
Absolutely.
In amongst of a culture and a industrialization that's not your fault you live in.
Yeah, that's right. God still blesses that effort to invest even when you get home. And I think I want to acknowledge too that pull, like if you didn't have that pull to ask this question, that tension of getting up in the morning, leaving, and feeling the grief of leaving, knowing this is my place, but I have to go to this place in order to make this place happen.
Yep.
That tension and that grief, I remember feeling that sadness of going like, I'm leaving. And there was always this thing in me going, get back as quick as you can, get back as quick as you can. And when it was time to get off, dude, I made a beeline for the freaking house. And I would say to guys who are feeling this tension, if you're not feeling that, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Like you should be feeling that. And that pull is because God made you to be a husband and a dad. You want to be with your wife, you want to be with your child, you want to train them up, you want them to be with you. Because that's how you train them. And so that pull is important. So I just say, guys, if y'all are feeling that, that's good. Trust that's the Lord driving you. And so here's a practical thing. On your way home, ask the Lord to help you. Ask him to strengthen you. You've been working hard. Ask him to give you strength. Ask him to make your mind strong and able to tune in. And when you get home, sit in the car for 5 minutes and ask the Lord, again, ask him for help. Get yourself wound up and go in the house and be present. Serve your wife, serve your kids, play with them, do whatever you need to do to be with them, put them to bed, pray for them, and the Lord will make that enough. He's able to make that enough.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're all fighting to and if you're a single father household, you need help, and you have friends to help you. If you're in that family relationship, your wife is helping you. There are times you flow in and out of presence. There were times I was more present. When I got down to 2 jobs, teaching and pastor, there were summers. Jennifer got back in the workforce. The boys were a little older. I had them to myself all summer long. They were at the school. They were playing sports. They were in my classroom. They were reading. They were doing whatever. And I had them literally 12 hours a day. And so what I missed early, I made up for later. And so I got that time. And then it got to the place where I was the one taking them to school because they went to my school. So they rode in the truck to school. They rode home with me from school. So there were times early where I had less time with them and times later where I had all the time with them. And so I would say, secondly, look for the waves. God will bring it in waves where you have less influence and where you're going to have more influence. That's why you need help.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, I think you guys are hit on that, so I don't add too much to keep repeating it, but presence is really the key. And there are times where like your body's physically tired, so you can still be present, intellectually, if you want to call it that, or just be there talking with them, even if you're not running outside and playing. Like, do those things too. But I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, and I think society has done that too. Married men men who are fathers and men who lead families of whatever that looks like carry so much weight and are often dealing with so many things internally. And most of us are not very good at, having proper outlets to do that. So sometimes we're carrying all these things, and those can take away from that time that we need to be spending with our kids, because we're busy, like, is the check going to be enough this month? Is, that the lawnmower broke, how are we going to do that? Like, there's so many things.
Right.
For me particular, because I know you guys are sharing some stories too. I remember being out of work for a year when Addison was 2, and talk about like spiritual attacks. It was because, just everyone tells you, well, you're the provider, you're the provider, you're the provider. And there was a season where I provided very little from a financial standpoint. But I had a lot of other things to provide my family at that time. And thankfully the Lord was kind enough to show me those things. But we struggled. And then, so I'm getting attacked with that. Brittany's getting attacked with, like, well, you should be the one at home with the kids. He's at home playing and having fun, and you're here having to work. It's just that constant battle that we sometimes deal with, and whether we think we're not being enough. And just the cultural trends, through the years, because there were times where providing was it, like, as a man, like, you just provided, like, you worked and you came home and then your family catered to you. I don't agree with that, but that was kind of like the standard for a long time. And then we realized, no, we need to be more actively engaged and present when we come home. And now there's just constant attacks on masculinity. And so, there's attacks on what type of job we need to have that needs to be man. I don't agree with all that. I'm just saying that those things are happening, though. And so we're living in a time where we're carrying a lot of weight, and we have to be careful that we don't use that as an excuse not to fulfill what we've been called to fulfill in the household and at the workplace. But we also need to have moments where we give ourselves grace and realize that there's a capacity here too. Like, you use the word balance, and just realizing that, no, I need to give all I have when at my work. I need to pursue excellence in my job, and I need to be building the kingdom there. And then when I come home, it's the same way I'm building a household as an outpost of the kingdom. And so every decision or act of service, all those late night feedings, or that little game of Candyland that you don't want to play for the third time, or
30th,
right? That those extra work shifts that you've taken to pay the bills, all those contribute to building a holy dwelling in the presence of God in your home. Yeah, and I just think that we need to do a better job sometimes as men of just owning that and be like, I just need to do what I need to do. And it's not, like you said, sometimes it's going to be more than my share, and sometimes it's going to be a little bit less. But
one of the things I remember that I tried to do, because it was abnormal. Our household was different. We were here to plant a church, and in the meantime, I was also having to work, and did that for 16 years. The home time would always be a little different. But in order to be present, because I think even when they're sleeping, presence can be important. We would, depending on schedules and stuff, we would camp out and called it a camp out in our living room. So we would spread out the sleeping bags because we're outdoorsy people. So in the weekends we'd be camping, hiking, whatever, watering. We're rafting. The boys, from the time they were tiny babies, we've been in whitewater, just outside doing the stuff. And so we found things to do together. That's one thing. Did stuff on the weekends. But then during the week, we would camp out in the living room. So we would sleep together. There's that connection factor. My wife said she's in the counseling world, and so attachment's huge for us. We understood attachment early on. So we would do things to be together, including sleeping in the floor and camping out and watching like, again, it might be Bob the Builder or whatever when they were little, and they got older, it was Night at the Museum. I've seen Night at the Museum, all of them 100 times, and they're amazing. But that be together, sit on the couch, camp out together, build the tent, even sometimes pitch the tent in the living room and slept in the tent watching whatever we did, put us in the room. And that atmosphere of being together was so pervasive that to this day, when everybody's home, their favorite place is to go pile up on the couch and watch something together. Like, I'm talking grown men, still their comfortable place is to go to that living room, pile up on a couch or lay on the floor and watch something. Yeah. And so even as they got older and teenage, as they did their teenage thing, their comfortable place was to pile up on that couch. come home from football practice, come home from wrestling practice, come home from work, and pile up on that couch. Is like, Dad, we're going to watch our show tonight?
Yeah.
And that was awesome. So the moments that were small early on paid dividends later, and they would not, that was a comfortable place for them. So do traditions, things where like I'm not present all the time early on, but when you are present, build things that you do together that derives into the psyche, the memory, the connection of that child, your presence. And that will follow them into teenagehood and even adulthood, where they find that comfortable place of your presence. And so I guess taking advantage of the moments you have, not wasting them, and that planting produces fruit later.
Yeah, man. One thing, and this is going to be, the presence part. I'm going to kind of touch on that a little bit too, but this is going to be kind of hard because I don't think that every job and every role allows this to a certain extent. But I think that you can get pretty creative and intentional with it, but including your kids in your work.
Yes, sure.
You know, like
you can do that, right? Yeah.
I think, what I've tried to do, and even as a leader in the industry, is create opportunities for even all the people that report to me. All of our families get together. Like, family is important. Like, and we proved that by opportunity for us all to spend time together, and it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun. We can have a good time with that. And like Elena, like, loves. And we're next week going. We'll be going traveling for work, and she loves. She'll go with me. Yeah. And she loves going into the office, and everybody loves her there. And it's like you have to, and it's not. I know that there's different opportunities for different people in different places that they are in their work, but you can be creative in how you get your kids involved in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And it doesn't have to be big. It can be very little. You know, it can be just talking to them about what you do. Right. You know, and getting them interested in that. And then they ask questions when you come home, and then you start talking, you know. So it's not separating them from what you do, it's including them. Yeah. And so now it's more of Daddy's not gone. I know what Dad's doing, and when I get home, I get to talk to Dad about it too, right?
That's good.
And so it is you can be intentional about that.
That's really good.
Yeah, I want to kind of piggyback on that a little bit. And this is one of those things I wrote down because I wanted to say it the right way, but I think this applies to, yes, as a father in the home, but also to like to the career path, if you will, or to the work. I wrote down, steward the current calling. Don't chase the next big thing if the current thing is still God's thing. And I had to learn this different ways. Now, I've worked several different jobs and had different things going on, and there were opportunities that came along. I don't even know if I've ever told you this. I've had at least 4 or 5 churches through the years call and offer me full-time jobs just like that. And I was like, and they were good. They were paid, good high-paying jobs, big churches. That was kind of the trend during those times too, of like, how my friends that were in ministry, many of them started out as in like a youth pastor, and then they got the call, if you will, for God's calling me to the big church. Well, how come God never calls people to the small church? It seems weird, but I don't want to talk about that necessarily. But I say all that to say,
felt a little dig there too. Like that,
yeah, I felt it.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't meant to be a dig. It was
not
to you. Okay.
Just in the ministry idea in general. God always calls me to something bigger, never calls me to something small.
I've never heard anyone say God's called me to leave the 2,000 member church, full-time paying job, to go the bivocational 50-person church.
No. He's only onward and upward, baby.
But all that to say, like, by not chasing after some of those opportunities that would have uprooted family, uprooted community, it may have been would have been a better situation outside looking in for me from either a career standpoint or a financial standpoint. And I'm not saying that don't take jobs. I'm just saying, like, when God's speaking clearly, this is where I want you to be, be cautious of chasing after those things and be present in that current moment of life, because there are things that he's wanting to teach. And I think this is really in particular to newer husbands and newer dads, because there's a lot of demand on you when you're a new dad, right? Like, it's a lot of learning. There's a lot of training that's happening. There's a lot of it was a while before I was like not terrified to drive my newborn baby around in the car, because people drive like, it's just, there was mornings I'm like going to wake her up in the morning, like, she hopes she's still breathing. Like the stuff, I'm assuming you guys have probably done some of those
Yeah.
things where you're just like, there's so much to learn, there's so much to figure out, and it's okay but it's a special time to be though, and because you're doing it together, you're doing it as a family. They're learning to walk and crawl and eat solid food. You're kind of doing the same thing as a parent.
Yeah, I think that's good, and it's just giving yourself the grace, like through what you're walking through too. You're learning, and you're not going to do everything right. Like you're going to screw up, and it's okay too. And you're learning through that. Part of like that of choosing. Some people will say, well, there's certain things that I can't, that I know God's called me to, that it's hard to I'm just thinking in my mind, I was like, somebody that's in construction, how do you get your kid involved in construction, which is a dangerous place? And it's like one thing that, as you're out on the weekend, drive by the place that you're constructing and say, hey, this is where Dad works. Just point at it and just say, this is what I do. Yeah. And like getting them involved in that. Elena and I, our fun thing now is, well, it has been, not anymore, not much anymore, but right when I first started working there, it was like going in the grocery stores and figuring out what packages that we manufactured.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and be like, oh yeah, we do that. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, we make that. Isn't that cool? Really cool. And so it's just included.
Got those toddler tool belts too. You get them one of those tool belts.
Yeah, and man, one of the other guys at church, and be careful calling out names. I don't know if they want to say, but that their kids in loves tractors.
Yeah,
it's like you talk to the kid and it's like,
that kid knows a backhoe from a skid steer.
Unbelievable. He won't even say backhoe. He's like, that's not a backhoe. That's an excavator.
Yeah, he's like two.
There's only one person. There's only one person he's learned that from, and that's his daddy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of stuff of you get your kids involved in what you do, so they feel like they feel connected to you.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that's the difference, is that's the connection that you can foster in a world that is built around not trying to separate the dad from the kid, right?
Yeah, it's good, man.
And then when you're separated from them at work, they know where you are, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And hopefully you've taught them why you're doing those things and how you can either helping someone or you're fulfilling, you're using the gifts God gave you.
Yeah. Something you said is important, I think, and just a little bit ago, like the current thing, like trusting the sovereignty of God. Like, there's, if I got myself in a pickle because I made a bad decision, that's one thing. But if I'm doing the best I can to provide for my family, it requires me to be gone 8 to 12 hours a day. Trusting that God has ordained that for a season, and that to be faithful in that, God will do what you can't, that He will see to them in your absence. So that, and in such a way, when you are present and are tuning in the way we've talked about being present and tuning in, God makes up for that. And this is to sound weird, and I hope this sounds right, that it's almost an inverse Sabbath principle, that God calls us to stop in order to receive the work He will do for us that we can't do for ourselves. There's almost this inverse principle of I'm working really hard to provide like I'm supposed to, and what I can't do, He's going to make up for. So, and maybe that's inverse Sabbath. Maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm
I think it still is. Like you're trusting in the Lord to take care of the things that you can't, right?
Yeah, I'm not stopping because I can't stop. I've got to work this job, but I'm trusting in being faithful that God is going to provide what I can in this moment. Yeah. And so I'm talking that out loud as you said that. I'm like, it's trusting the sovereignty of God. And in this season, this is what God has, and He's going to make it work out okay.
Yeah, and in that, because you can flip that too and go the opposite direction, right? Like you can paint God over that situation and say, this is what He wants me to do. And so just it's a consistently checking your heart in those things at the same time, like actively.
You're being sure I'm where God has ordained me to be in this moment.
Yeah.
It's like being astute enough to recognize, because there may be opportunities.
Yeah. There's going to be ample opportunities.
Yeah, one opportunity may
doesn't mean you take all of them.
Right. That's right. I'm doing God's thing, and if God's thing is costly in this world now, I'm trusting He will make up for it.
Yeah.
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 So that's what when we were talking about the right thing, making sure it's the right thing. That's like, that's trust in the Lord for those seasons. Because life as a parent, as a dad and a husband, is going to come in seasons. I know that's an overused Christian word, but it works because it's true. You know, God wove seasons into creation, and life is full of seasons. And there's going to be a season of presence, and there's going to be a season of absence. And that's why you need each other. That's why you need husbands need wives, wives need husbands. Single dads need the church. Single moms need the church, so that in those seasons of life, there is presence constantly of the kingdom of God working, and trust God in that.
Yeah.
And then being intentional with that, because man, like it's real easy to not lean on people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and I can say it's been really good, the men that have spoken in the life of my boys. You're one of them. You're one of them. Times that men have spoken powerfully and prophetically into their lives. And so that will happen, because you're going to get to teenage years and you can be present all you want. They're going to run from you. They don't want your presence. and so you're going to need other men and other women to speak into their lives. And so there's always going to be seasons of presence and absence. And what's weird and how God works it out, when maybe you can be more present, they're going to want to be less present from you. And trust God in the fellowship to make up for that.
Yeah.
And all that parenting and being a spouse is hard. It's just hard. And it's a constant pull of tensions.
Yeah.
And managing those tensions as best we can.
Yeah. I think coming alongside that same point around your community, that is important. I can't tell you how many, several women have taken the role of, because of the single dad, has taken the role of the mom, right?
Yeah.
And there's things that I've had to accept and ask for that I wouldn't have to have, before. And but I also think even in a marriage that is together and there are two parents, there's still other spiritual fathers and mothers that are sitting there ready to help and bridge the gaps of the seasons that come.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's why it's so important for that community, that solid discipleship community.
It's huge.
I would say there needs to be that. Like it's a need to have other godly men and women speaking into your child's life, and on top of the fact, like I know you travel some for work, and being able to say, "Oh, I'm not a bad dad," because I was gone for 2 weeks or a week at a time. But I can be confident in the fact that part of my responsibility as a dad is living in community with people I can trust and rely on, who will fill in those gaps when I'm not there. And it's not you lacking at all. And it's actually a benefit to your daughter to have those relationships. And it's easy to be hard on ourselves, I think, when we do that, when we leave or we're gone. I don't know about y'all. Like, I feel like every time I'm out of town, weird stuff happens. And that happened when I went to Colorado. Like the first night I was gone, I hardly slept. I'm not an anxious person. I was like anxious, and I'm like, Lord, I don't know what that is, but sustain my, keep my family safe, and they were fine. And it's not like, because they had places to go, people to go. Not that Brittany's not fully capable by herself, but if something were to happen though, I know that probably both of y'all and whoever else would have been there in a second. And having worked in child welfare, when I trained foster parents a lot, I was like, I tell some of us, a lot of the parents that lose their children are not that much different than you. They just didn't have support. They didn't have the community, and something happened. Not saying that they make bad decisions sometimes, but a lot of times it wasn't a lack of care or love for their child that they lost them. It's generational. There's other reasons there, and I was grateful growing up in a household that was involved in church and many other things. And God forbid anything had ever happened to my mom and dad, my brother and I would have had no shortage. I mean, I'm talking dozens of families that would have either taken us in or kept us short term, or like we just. But that was because of my parents being faithful and understanding how the importance of community and being involved in church, and they were being obedient to that end. And there were times where we needed that. There were times where they took in people. Like a friend of mine spent almost a year with us living in our house because his parents had some health issues and some other things going on. They were able to step in and be that. And so all that to say, agree. I think when we're just going back to that obedience, they just being faithful and obedient to where he's called us and where he has us, and trusting that he's going to provide, sustain, and care for us and fill in, whatever it is that we're needing.
And let me say a couple things here, kind of close out my thoughts is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, ask for help. If you need support, if you need support anyway, ask. Like, don't be so prideful that you can't ask, because none of us have this figured out. This is why I'm convinced grandparenting is better, is because you have relaxed enough that you're actually good and capable.
Well, there's if it's working right, you have no responsibility either.
Good point. Good point.
Ice cream all day.
Ice cream all day.
Absolutely.
Well, there's something to that, being relaxed and realizing that if you care, you're not going to break them. They're going to be all right. That's true. Kids respond to that relaxedness, which is why that relationship's special when you got it. And so I think if I could have learned that, if somebody had imparted that to me early on, I'd have been a better dad. It's like, hey man, you know what? You can relax about that fudge round. It's gonna be okay. Yeah, it's gonna be all right. Rather than being uptight about it. But so reach out and ask questions, and let the older people give you some counsel and try it. Because all of us as young parents read the book, we read that thing, we did that stuff, and we're so easy to offend as parents because we think we got it figured out. If somebody's contrary or different, we're like, oh my God, you're questioning my parenting skill. I'm like, yeah, because we all stink. Like, we all come into parenting unskilled, knowing absolutely nothing, and have to learn it on the fly. But what's wild is you only learn it good when it's over. And that's the thing, I don't understand that dynamic, which is why we need older people to be able to tell, hey, dude, just relax. It's really going to be okay. Like, and y'all heard me joking about, like, I need some sugar-free, gluten-free, color-free, fun-free candy to give to kids so that I can be a good pawpaw here in the church. And I actually had one mama bring me a great thing I could give to her precious little boy. He, it's just fun. It's, so it's, but it's, here's my point in that. Let old people.
Candy kids. Come
to
my office.
Dude, that's be awesome. Dude, that's so much fun. And so it was actually a fruit leather. And this guy was like, oh, I know fruit leathers. I can do those. I can buy those, start handing those out. That's kind of fun. Leather? Yeah, fruit leather, man.
Is it like a fruit roll-up?
No, well, fruit roll-up's not appropriate. It's got bad dyes in it and too much sugar. But the fruit leather's just like dried fruit. It's kind of like, it's good. It's actually really good. So, anyway, all that to say, like, let older people help you relax about some stuff. But you got to ask them, because we're afraid to, like, interject too much because people are too easy to offend about their parenting. If you suggest one thing, well, are you trying to tell me I'm not being a good daddy? I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you, like,
maybe all you could do is just share your experience,
give the kid a Dr. Pepper. He ain't going to die. Yeah. It's going to be all right. It's like, oh, my gosh, I can't. I tried to pour Kenyon Esme a big old thing of Dr. Pepper. Kara caught me.
Yeah. That might be a problem.
Well, he was thirsty, man. He asked me.
He was thirsty. Give him some water.
He asked me if he could have some Dr. Pepper, and I said yes.
Yeah.
And I was pouring it.
Well, he knew why he was asking you. That's called
sucker.
Yeah, exactly. He knew.
Like those old cartoons where the cartoon would turn into an actual
But
sucker.
you know what?
Because if he'll ask you that, not his mama, he knows he's doing something.
That young man knows where he can come for counsel, though. My God.
Let me.
So ask old people, but receive their counsel.
Let me share a few statistics that actually support that. When we're talking about that, it just fits in right here. So these are a couple of statistics from Barna research from a survey they did. 63% of fathers say they do not feel adequately equipped to lead their home spiritually. Children whose fathers actively lead in faith are 67% more likely to continue in the faith as adults. And this one was really eye-opening. 93% of men said they feel more confident at work than they do as fathers.
I believe that.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
But I also believe some of that, too, could be supported and helped and encouraged by discipleship and being in community with other men, older men who have done that. Not just like advice on things, but really pouring in spiritually. To help us lead our homes better.
Well, that's one of the things the guys that I spend time with, I'm very transparent about the struggles we've walked through the past few years with our youngest. They know everything. They know probably more than they wanted to know. But I want them to learn. I want them to see that being a parent of teenagers is going to be a challenge. And I want them to feel that if you get in the world that we were in, it's going to be a challenge, but I want them to know it's navigable too. So take what I've done, learn from it, and be better with it, so that they're being equipped as a father. Like they're watching me be a father and can walk away and go, I wouldn't do that, but I'd do it like this. Then we've won the day. If you've seen a better way, amen.
Yeah, and man, and sometimes you can feel like you do everything right and it not turn out.
Still not turn out right.
Yeah, so I think even in that is where it comes back to your relationship with Jesus. Like, pay attention to your priorities in your own life. Is Jesus really first in your own life? Is your wife really second in your own life? Is your kid in third? And is your job fourth? Right? Like, I think when you and it's funny, is like when people think that, it was like, well, I'll never be successful. That is such a lie.
Right.
That is such a lie, because if the priorities are right, God said He takes care of everything else.
Yeah, He does.
Right, and it works, and it goes back to the experience of that, and the working through of like putting those priorities in the right place, and stories of God doing crazy things is there for them to help seek out,
That's right.
and listen to, and so.
You're dealing with free moral agents, and what's the paradox of when I was more available, the one who needed it the most took it the least.
Yeah.
But the ones I was less available to, younger, received it the more. And you look at that and you look back and go, we did everything right as best we possibly could. There wasn't like this massive group of errors.
Yeah.
And that's that, like, okay, Lord, I trust you, be right with the Lord.
Yep.
Because you sometimes are going to do everything right and it still doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so Lord, I obeyed you. I'm trusting you with the outcome.
Yes.
And believe that you're going to be sovereign over that, because I was faithful.
That's right.
And so be faithful.
Yes.
Be faithful. Trust the Lord. Walk with Him. Execute holiness as best you possibly can, and trust the Lord with the outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if they're difficult for a season, because God isn't done until He's done.
Yes.
And so that may not be at 18. They launch finished. I had to learn this. I asked Jim. I've been asking him for years, like, because he's a father of boys. And one of the things I've learned from him is you never stop parenting. They're going to get married, and you're going to be a grandparent, but you're still parenting your sons. And that made so much sense. So I realized, don't think you get to 18 and it's over, and you look back and judge your parenting, because you still get an opportunity to repair, build, and grow, because they're always going to be treading on ground you paved for them. Yeah. And they're going to come ask questions. I'm seeing that now with my oldest and in the classroom, my officer in the Army. They still come back. They're asking. So I'm able to say, I understand that. I know try this. So I'm still parenting. It's just a different phase of parenting. So the end all and be all isn't now. We're not done. So I say to you, man, if you're struggling with this now, recognize you're going to still be parenting when they're in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Until they put you in the ground, you're going to be a parent. So keep learning, and keep growing, because you're still going to get a chance to influence.
Yeah. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
Priest, protector, provider.
Yeah, man.
3 callings as a father.
That's good. We're probably getting close to the end here. You want to?
Yeah. Did you want to circle back to the industrial thing, or we want to skip that for
now? I'd maybe just introduce it, because I think I'm going to get down a rabbit hole here.
Sounds like it.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I think we need.
You made your rabbit hole face.
Yeah, I'm not convinced industrialization. God has allowed it. It's what we have. When you take a look at the history of industrialization from the Rockefellers, you go back and you work through Henry Ford, all of those things that influenced, because they didn't just influence an economy, they influenced society. For instance, the current education system is modeled on what Henry Ford and Rockefeller suggested to produce factory workers. That's why you had the bell at the end of periods of time. It taught them how to operate in the factory. So even how we educate is rooted in an industrial model, not necessarily a model that's best for the critical thinking of a student. To some degree, it creates lower classes of slaves. And that's probably overstating the point, but I'm not convinced industrialization has been ideal. We were made, Genesis 1:26-28, to multiply your family, fill the earth and subdue it. Like we were made to work in this creation, be filled with the Spirit, to take the elements of creation and remake Eden. That's what the tabernacle was. They were filled with the Spirit to build this structure that was to point them to Jesus and his work to remake all of creation into Eden. Industrialization took that from us to some degree. Not all completely, not 100% completely. So don't hear me say completely. I'm not convinced industrialization has been good for humanity. Not that it's evil or bad necessarily, but I don't think it's been ideal. And so I think it's worth digging a little bit, maybe coming back to and seeing what has been the results of industrialization. Was it avoidable? Was it inevitable? Is it a product of natural evolution of society? And I don't mean that like Darwinian evolution, but I mean a growth of society's evolution to be more efficient. I don't know, but you can tell a stark difference between an agricultural society and an industrial society, the levels of anxiety, fear, depression, all those things, separation of the family. It's just an interesting topic to get down, particularly when you dig into who the Rockefellers are. Like there's just challenging things there. So I just say that go dig and ask questions, because we're all wrestling with an impossible economic challenge for all of us. Because all of us would love the ideal that we could be more present with our kids. But if we're going to provide for our kids at the current level of what it costs to support a kid in a household, it requires an awful lot from us that I don't think God demands us give. And so how do you as a Christian combat that? That's our families are wrestling with that. I'm made for this, but in order to supply for this, it requires this that's taking away from me doing what God made me to do. And that's the tension our mamas and our daddies are feeling. And I think that's the movement that's spurring a lot of folks to go back to a different education model, a different funding model, to try to recapture that. And so I feel that in parents. I feel it in my own parenting. I feel it now as having sons on the verge of having their own families going, let's rethink how we're going to do this, boys. Because I'm getting that phase of life where I want to leave a legacy. Like I'm thinking about passing things on. And I would like for them to be able to do it better than I did. And I'm not sure the current model is set up for them to succeed and all that. But anyway, that's an old man's wandering a little bit.
Yikes. Yeah, we could be here another 3 or 4 hours via Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. So I would say let's shelve that. We just introduce
let's dive in. Buckle up. No.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
I mean, it's good to ponder. Man.
Everybody's wrestling with the same problem.
Yeah.
And it's how we solve it. And that's where even sometimes in the church we like beat each other up over how we're trying to solve the same impossible economic problem. And I think we need to just hey, give everybody a little room and grace, because we're all trying to solve the same unsolvable economic problem.
Yeah. And I think so if you do the failure analysis, right? Do your 5 why. Ask why 5 times, you get to the root cause.
Yeah.
Every time I do that based off of subjects like this, when we get down to the root causes, well, for one, it's sin. That's the actual root cause, right? Genesis 3.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start talking about industrialization and those type of things, it's all the love of money. Like the foundation of everything you just described is money. Mm-hmm. And so then you put in perspective, okay, well, what are you seeking after?
Right.
And it's power and money.
Yeah.
So it does have to go back with even your worldview about which worldview are you focused on.
Yeah. Because it's quite a different thing if you have your children working in the field rather than sending your children to the sweat factory. Mm-hmm. Those are two different things. Children were made to work. Mm-hmm. They were not made to be sent off to the Apple iPhone production facility in China. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's good to teach a kid how to walk behind a team of mules or to sit on a John Deere tractor and plow a straight furrow. It's another thing to send your kid off to work for somebody who's going to pay them as little as they can possibly pay them and teach them how to run their rat race. And I don't know, man. I'm just kind of.
Yeah, and just think that we have the solution to fix it. I don't.
Yeah, and as a Christian with a Genesis 1:26-28 worldview of our task in the earth and where God is taking human history to the recapturing of that, what is our task in that? Now, we talk about domains. I think there's something there to sound the depth of where are we going and how do we get there as the people of God in the kingdom of God.
Yeah, and because I don't think you can place everything in the industrialized world as doing. There's some good things.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So just like in our world, like packaging, manufacturing, we can package food and it lasts way longer than it used to, right?
100%.
So there's some positive things out of that, but it's like it goes back to like literally where you lose the value versus the money part of it, right? It's 100%. Like 100%. Because I think we're there to figure these things out. Like I think we're here to figure out how these things work and make things better, right?
Absolutely.
That's restoring.
Yes.
So there is a balance there, man. I don't really know how to like talk through that right now. I have to think more.
Yeah, we have to think about it because I think there's a difference. I think you have to put the microscope down on it, get really granular. Intent and industrialization, because I think there are examples of it having been done well as an inevitability of the production of mankind is supplying the demand. I'm a demand aggregate, a supply aggregate economist, like I'm a true capitalist. And I think there are principles in play there where people have done it well and people who have done it poorly and taken advantage of humanity. And I don't mean capitalism. I think that's the closest. I'm a capitalist, full-blown capitalist. I think, man, I got an economics minor, and I think it gets you as close as you can possibly get to this side of the kingdom of having to treat people right in order to sell your product. So I believe in it. It's not perfect, but it's why people want to come to America. They're not trying to come to America because it sucks. They're trying to come to America.
Well, we go down kind of rabbit holes. Yeah. Global economy.
Well, but a lot of those advancements and
right?
It's like it's true.
A lot of those advancements and a lot of those inventions were created for efficiency purposes to make life easier and things go by quicker, so you'd have more time.
Yeah.
But we filled all that time with something else. So it's not. So it's part on that, but it's also part on how society has responded to as well. It's like, well, I've got all this extra time. I don't want to spend that with my family. We're gonna do all these other things.
Yeah.
And you have to get down to the rabbit hole of who and what they were doing it for, their whys.
Yeah.
When you get into who and why, that's where you start to see what took root and what ended up as opposed to what could have been. So anyway, let's don't keep going because we can really get down to that
my final comments, because it goes back into this what we're just talking about doesn't solve the fact of helping a young man that's a new dad now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I think focusing in on that and learning how to do that. And one thought that I had earlier was, and knowing your kid, like get to know who your kid is.
Absolutely.
They are made fearfully and wonderfully made. That's Psalm 139. So I think that getting to know who they are and knowing how God designed them and made them, which is intentional, and I think it's helpful in the relationship part. And Amen. I think that you can do that alongside of providing for your family. So it's doable. It's hard. It's probably not the way that it was ever meant to be, but here we are. Yeah. And I think the support part is a huge thing too. So that's my final take.
And God's taking it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like He is establishing His kingdom. And for us and our people to be asking these questions means He's stirring in us. So let's be faithful today and see where He takes us tomorrow. You got some takeaways? Take us away, man.
Let's dive in. Number one, fathers don't need to choose between ministry and marketplace. Like Bezalel, they're builders of sacred spaces wherever God has placed them. Husbands don't need to be theologians by profession. They just need to be filled with the Spirit, faithful to build and willing to teach. The Spirit of God equips everyday men to build eternal things. Number two, fatherhood is formational. It does come with metrics. It doesn't come with metrics. It comes with presence, prayer, and patience. Sorry.
I was like, boy, I hope they're metrics that do me good.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Let me repeat that. It doesn't come with metrics. It comes with presence, prayer, and patience.
That's awesome.
Number three, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be faithful. Your family doesn't necessarily need you to be a superhero. They need you to be a present, prayerful man Ordinary work becomes extraordinary when God fills it. Number 4, the home is your first mission field. I know a lot of people don't like that phrase, but marketplace impact is a gift, but your family is your first priority. So lead your family well first and then engage your domain in the public square. And finally, you're not behind. You're just beginning. Grace meets you here. The Holy Spirit equips you for this very calling. Every vocation under the lordship of Jesus is kingdom work. Own that, believe that, and then live it out daily.
Sweet. Good job.
Yep.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us, Theology in the Dirt. We hope this has been helpful. Our ramblings and our trying to make sense of a complicated, challenging thing to be a dad and a husband. So thanks for asking the question. Thanks for listening. Hope you'll share the podcast. Give it a 5-star rating. Leave a comment on the Spotify, on the Apple, on the whatever, on the YouTubes, all that good stuff. And go to the Walmarts and the Krogers and get a snack to come home and watch it too, all that fun stuff. We appreciate it. Send us an email at theologyanddirt@gmail.com if you have a question, and we'd love to try to address it. And Lord willing, Creek don't rise. See you next time. Out.